Alrighty. So firstly, no red couch today. I'm filming at an alternate location. But yeah, here's one for Pauline Hanson. But anyway, so Pauline Hanson is a bit of a weird one in politics because on one hand, like she does seem to be the exception to the rule of people being like rich upper class, but upper middle class kids and whatnot with fancy uni degrees and stuff like that. That is usually only found in the Labor Party or I won't even say Nationals because they're just the Nationals. But yeah, like so usually you got to look to the Labor Party to find folks that have actually held normal jobs and fucking you know got into politics the hard way. Like the Prime Minister at the moment, like he went to university, but he paid for that working as a dish pig and things like that. I came from, single mother, fucking Department of Housing, like upbringing sort of stuff. But yeah, so she is a bit of an exception to the rule per se there, because you know, pretty run of the mill, family that she comes from. Had a fish and chip shop that she worked at. Not the same one she'd owned, but yeah, she had a fish and chip shop that her and her siblings worked at when they were a kid. And yeah, when she was like fucking 15, she left school. Um, Eventually she would get more from that point onwards. As she grew up, she would get more and more sort of say and participation in their company, like doing a lot of their bookkeeping and stuff like that. And then fucking after that, like she'd even fucking work at Woolworths. Fucking yeah, okay. She did work for the buddy, the drug houses company in there, as like a secretary, but that's Bickford's now, if anyone's wondering. But yeah, same kind of thing, like just bookkeeping, like secretarial kind of shit. And then she left during her fucking pregnancy. I can't even fucking remember who. Like she got pregnant too, but I don't think it was Mark Hanson who, yeah, which is the next part. 1970s, like late 1970s, she married a bloke named Mark Hanson. He was a tradie on the Gold Coast, and well, I mean, come on. Like, she's young. She meets fucking a loaded tradie on the Gold Coast. Give it a go. But anyway, they ended up getting married, and he ended up fucking actually making a construction company, right? Like, they fucking did like fucking roof plumbing or something like that originally. And they called that, fucking Hanson Ltd or whatever it was. And then fucking eventually, like, about like 10 odd years later, just under 10 years later, they'd end up getting divorced, and she would, fucking. I think she worked at a bar there for a little bit, like a bowls club, like as a barmaid. And then from there, afterwards, her and a friend would fucking, bash their heads together and fucking open up a fish and chip shop, the one that we all fucking know that she had. That was in Ipswich. The fish and chip shop was, and fucking, she would end up fucking like selling that actual fucking business when she decided to enter politics in the midway through the 90s. And here's where the story of Pauline Hanson really sort of starts, because although at first, like it was in like 1994 or something like that, her first sort of stint in politics was actually in the Ipswich City Council. She earned a seat there on the council. Mind you, she won on the whole premise of being an opposition to extra funding. Funny, like fucking. Usually, it's like, oh, we need more funding for things. No, no, no. She won on the premise of extra funding for the opposing extra funding for the council. But anyway, funnily enough, she held it for nearly a year, and then they made some changes within the council, and she no longer had a seat. Ironic, right? You cut the funding, and all of a sudden, you don't have a job. In '95, she joined the Liberal Party, and yeah, fucking once she joined the Liberal Party, like they gave her a crack at fucking the seat. And originally it was Oxley. Um, and by the time, so what happened, right, is a bunch of fucking folks within the Liberal Party started realizing that she was a bit unhinged in some of her views. And yeah, they fucking, by the time they realized that what they'd led into their midst, like a full blown racist, this, that, and the other, fucking, yeah, no, it was too late. She was already, like, yeah, okay, she wasn't, Howard at the time said that she wasn't going to be, if she won her seat, she would not be sitting with the Liberals. But it was already too late to actually remove her name from the ballot properly. So it still said the Liberal Party candidate on the ballot for the seat of Oxley. Even though when she won, she would run as an independent or serve as an independent. And why I say racist and things like that, because some people try and say it's like fucking a bit about, oh, fucking, it's just, she just thought it was about the money that we were spending, this, that, and the other. It's like, no, because if she was about the money that was being spent, she would have supported the Voice, because the whole point of the Voice wasn't an ideological one, it was an economic one. It was to, actually fucking stop spending so much money on all these different, Indigenous councils and things like that, services that were set up, and not have so much money from that spilling over and being wasted. You'd have one ingrained thing within the parliament that they could all go and fucking, oi, what do you need? Like, and so the money that is going to be spent one way or another was actually being spent wisely. And if you're spending money wisely, chances are you're going to be spending a little bit less of it too. Basically, yeah, like the whole point of it was to spend less money for the same effect. And we all know what her stance was on the Voice. But anyway, so, and the other part as to why I say racist is because in her maiden speech, she went on about, Aboriginal Australians and all this sort of shit. And at the same time, like almost within the same sentence, started going on about being swamped by Asians. Like she had this whole fucking thing about mainstream Australians. So basically, Aussies that look like me, or fucking, you know what I mean, like European descended fucking bogans. Like that was her. That was her like sort of key demographic she was aiming for, and still is aiming for today. And yeah, fucking at the time, like Oxley was a fucking, when she won, it was actually a fucking like a Labour sort of seat. Um, But then what would happen is fucking, it would actually be, from 96 through to 97, she was, for that first year, she just ran as an independent. And then her and a bloke by the name of David Oldfield and David Ettridge decided to form the One Nation Party. And like, so yeah, it wasn't just Pauline Hanson. It's, fucking, everyone called it Pauline Hanson's One Nation, but it wasn't just her that founded it. And, well, later on, she would find herself getting kicked out of it, which I'll get to in a bit. Now, the funny thing is, right, is she didn't choose Ipswich or, so a place of upbringing or anything like that, or, the seat of Oxley where she lived, where she, was serving from, to actually launch her political party. She chose to do it in Dandenong, in fucking Victoria. Like, of all the places for, the Ipswich gal that owned a fish and chip shop and is now a member for Parliament to fucking launch her party, she decided to use the excuse for a fucking holiday and goes to fucking Dandenong to launch it. And it's like, ugh. But anyway, it was kind of like, it was a funny thing that happened when she did it though. There was like a silent vigil that took place. So a bunch of people from like fucking like, whether like different Asian origins. So like fucking Vietnamese, Chinese, East Timorese, fucking Sri Lankans, Indians. And like even like European descended fucking church representatives and shit like that all come down and fucking just silently protested the fucking like this party being formed, and it's just like, bro, it's quite clear what demographic you're pissed off. But yeah, like And that's another one for all these people that are saying mass immigration, this, that, and the other. It's like, no, it's fucking Howard that let a lot of them in, and they've been here long enough now that they are Aussies. They fucking assimilated. That's for fucking sure. You can't say they didn't. Like, you just don't like what they fucking look like, you racist cunts. But anyway, fucking. Anyway, the late 90s, fucking, like, is when another re-election came up for her in '98, I think it was. A weird thing happens in fucking '98 actually as well, is so the seat of Oxley that she had originally won had been a part of a redistribution, and the new seat of Blair was created as well. Now, when Oxley was redistributed, it was looking like it was going to be a safe Labor seat, and the seat of Blair was looking like it was either A, going to be a safe Liberal seat, or B, be a potential One Nation seat. And so, like, for example, for the seat of Oxley, like a former state premier, like Labor premier Wayne Goss, he was the one that actually won pre-selection for that seat. But anyway, she decided that she's going to have a crack at winning Blair. Now, this is where she probably fucked up. Like, if anything, she should have chose then to go for a Senate seat. She might have had a bit more luck, but because she wasn't going to win Oxley. But yeah, so she, did the whole fucking her re-election campaign was, pretty much, jobs and fucking, racial purity. Like, I'm not joking. Like, that was her political thing. More jobs and less people that aren't white. Yeah, like, you can't make this shit up, and I'm fucking not. Like, go look this shit up for yourself. But yeah, like, she did more so focus on the jobs part and did push a little bit of that other stuff to the back burner because she kind of realized people just weren't like her in that regard. But well, times change. Yeah, so she would lose to Cameron Thompson, the Liberal candidate, and Blair would fall to the Liberals. And at first, they were like, this is probably going to be one of those Liberal stronghold seats. Even though the numbers didn't really reflect it, there was just a smell in the air that made that seem to be the case. Mainly because I'm pretty sure she actually came second in that election with the first count. But I didn't get the preferences. But anyway, funnily enough, for the seat of Blair, the following election, it would actually be won by Shane Newman, the Labor candidate, and he's held it ever since. And it's not a Labor safe seat. He actually has to fight for that seat every single time, and he does a bloody good job doing it. Like, people seem to wonder why he always, wins that seat. And there's a couple of old yubbos make the jokes like, oh, you only see him during the election, this, that, and the other. It's just like, nah. I mean, I've only lived down here a few years, and I've fucking seen him out and about a few times, actually. Like, and not when an election's on either. Like, he does what any MP does. He has to go to fucking Canberra every now and again and fucking sit through Parliament. But, yeah. Anyway, back on topic. At around this sort of point, you sort of see her kind of take a back seat within One Nation because she just starts whinging about the Liberals having like some fucking secret, legal funds to, go against fucking, One Nation and this, that, and the other. It's just like, yeah. So she just goes on her fucking little whinge tirade there for a while. And yeah, then for the 2001 election, she decided now would be the time that she would decide to run for the Senate. And she lost. No other way to put it. She narrowly lost, but she lost. And it's at this point that she actually makes the decision to leave politics. And then, so a few years later, she broke the heart of a man by the name of Andrew Hanson from the Chasers War and everything. and went off and married a country singer. And I like to joke that, like, at one point or another, like, Andrew Hanson was invited into the room to, sit and watch from the corner as like some kind of weird like fetish thing. But that it's a joke. I can calm down, all right. But yeah, if I can, funnily enough, like yeah, okay, she did have a crack at running as a fucking as a fucking independent there as well, fucking like 2004, before she did make the decision to leave. But again, fucking same thing, like yeah, she lost. And then again, she steps back into politics for the second time. This will not be the last time. She steps back into politics and fucking she tries to run for the seat of the electoral district of Bow Desert. During the so she tries to run for Bow Desert during the 2009 state election and lost. But yeah. Anyway, like she came third in that election, and that I'm pretty sure that was even before preferences, and like so she wasn't winning it. But anyway, she did turn around at this point and say that she would not run for a seat in politics again. This was it as far as she's concerned. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. But basically a year later, she had launched a new career doing like motivational speaking and shit like that. And during one of her little tirades, she actually did express interest in returning as a Liberal candidate during the 2010 federal election, which you might know was contested by Tony Abbott. And at this point, she cracked the shits with Queensland. Fucking, she had a pub there in Maitland for a little bit. Or all the bar staff and that absolutely fucking hated her anyway. Like, it's just like, I can't believe this bitch is my boss. But if you go in there, there's all these photos on the wall, and you'll actually see there's a photo of her fucking up on that wall, and it's kind of like yeah, the current owners won't let us take that down. But anyway, fucking, during this time, she decided to run for the Legislative Council, their equivalent of the Federal Senate. And she lost. And there was like, so pretty much there's all these fucking like emails going back and forward that fucking Pauline Hanson, she knew they were like fraudulent, but she still decided to use them as like a fucking like, leg to stand on. Her and another bloke would end up getting locked up for political fraud. She'd get 11 weeks. No, she'd serve 11 weeks of it before she actually got fucking brought out of jail. So they decided to, reverse the decision made that put her in jail, but that was basically because the judges and like the legal system at the time actually felt a little bit sorry for her, because while she was in jail, she was, basically bitching, whinging, and moaning to anybody that would give her the ear as to like how hard it was and how rough it was. And yeah, fucking, so they, kind of pulled some strings and got her out. Then the moment she got out, she started complaining about how it's too soft in jail. We're not hard enough on our criminals. It's like a fucking holiday, rada, rada, rada. So obviously fucking, someone fucking touched her up or fucking, gave her a few black eyes or fucking, did some fucking dirty shit to her or whatnot that she didn't like. Because let's face it, she married a country singer at one point there. Fucking, she's into some dirty shit. But yeah, it's kind of just a fucking one of those, minor hypocritical moments for Pauline Hanson. But anyway, oh yeah, I forgot. Back in like 07, before all of this had happened, she actually, because she'd also been kicked out of One Nation, she did for a brief stint there have another party called Pauline Hanson's United Australia Party. I am not making it up. Fucking look it up. But pretty much after like her political indestructibility, that, that she'd sort of seen, right? Like, yeah, okay, she wasn't able to, win seats a lot of the time, this, that, and the other. Um, it was she was a pain in the ass to everyone that went against her. Like, she was just a whinging cunt. Like, it's kind of like, her jail stint kind of shows that she's just a whinging cunt. She then returned in 2013 for the federal election, and she would, rejoin as the party leader. She didn't win her the buddy the Senate seat that she was going for, the New South Wales Senate seat. So even after losing that, she then had a crack at her Queensland state seat. That was the seat of Lockyer, and that was because it was a seat that One Nation actually had held before. However, like, it'd been about 10 years since they held it, and there was a chance that they could get it, and, well, she did lose it by a narrow margin. Instead of having a crack at it next time, or having a crack at a federal seat in the same area, she decided to have another crack at the Senate, this time in Queensland, and this time she would win. She finally won. That was in 2016. That was her first Senate term, and fucking in 2022, she won re-election again. Because slowly but surely, over time, Queensland has just been taken over. Like, we've always been the bogan capital, right? We've always been the state that's been the most rough around the edges, but over the last 10, 15 years, just more and more of these, like, fucking weird cunts have just been, and they're not, most of them aren't even from here. A lot of them actually move up from places like New South Wales. And just fucking, yeah, they're just spreading like fucking wildfire. Like, they get conned by all these fucking Facebook posts and hoaxes that, the government's doing this or fucking this, that, and the other. And it's like, especially over the last term, the last two terms, like, so the one we're in now and the term before it, it's like, you see a lot of it. Like, there's apparently people are saying it's like, oh, the government, they were officially trying to get rid of cats. It's like, never fucking happened. There was another one going around saying the federal government turned around and fucking, it's now illegal to vape, drink, or eat in your car. That's not true, for two reasons. A, the federal government doesn't control that sort of stuff, and B, no state government has brought in that law. But there are people that are around, they believe it because of fucking all this fucking online fucking propaganda bullshit. And you see it in a lot of these One Nation supporters groups. Like, they talk out of their ass and fucking others believe them because they can word it in a certain way, whereas the rest of us just fucking say it how it is. But because we speak like fucking normal human beings, we have to, have evidence there to back it up. And a lot of these people, once they get so entrenched in that little racist fucking little corner of fucking the internet, it's impossible to get them out because, well, they don't want to be wrong about that. They don't want to be pulled back out of that. Whereas, like, even people like myself have held views in the past that are fucking, well, I was wrong. And fucking, heck, like, I used to fucking think back to the day that both major parties were always, all politicians and parties are as bad as each other, this, that, and the other. Fucking, there's no point in voting. Why would I bother registering to vote? I was wrong. So now I do vote. Support one very, very specific party because their history fucking shows. But anyway, she did at one point or another try to, like, fucking in 2019 as well, get back on a proper racist train against the indigenous community, and fucking she cracked the shits because they were banning people from climbing Uluru just free willy nilly. But yeah, fucking, and at one point or another as well, fucking, like, just trying to say that we shouldn't take part in any, like, economic forums or anything like that as a country because it was a part of the New World Order and fucking all of that bullshit. Ugh. You done? Alright, I just spent fucking 25 odd minutes on Pauline Hanson. Alright. Fucking like, subscribe, and fucking all that other bullshit. Cheers.